Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project and Magnetic Reversal News, bringing you a tropical storm Cristobal update and analysis Friday, June 5th, around 11 p.m. Mountain Time 2020. The current models are in, and they're showing a tropical storm which has already developed, intensifying over the Gulf of Mexico early Sunday afternoon and making landfall Sunday night, Monday morning, somewhere just west of New Orleans. The majority of the rain and wind is to the east and southeast of this storm. We're going to break it down. Keep calm. Cristobal brings life-threatening rain to Central America before turning towards the U.S. Many of you have seen reports coming out of amazing footage of flooding in the Yucatan Peninsula. This is because this storm has done a loop-de-loop. And what I mean by that is let's bring it in for you. So in the last 4 days, the center of circulation has barely tracked anywhere, and it's now sitting somewhere off the Yucatan Peninsula in this position. But because of this stalling out feature, it's brought massive amounts of rain here east of the center of circulation. This is not abnormal. Tropical storms and hurricanes sometimes make loops or stall out for a time. Weak or changing steering winds aloft are often the culprit for these erratic tracks, and Cristobal was an example of this as it makes a loop near the Yucatan Peninsula. It traveled south for 3 days, turned north, and it's going to be traveling north the whole rest of its journey based on current models. Now, Cristobal is now a tropical storm as it threatens the Gulf Coast. Satellite imagery shows a massive center of convection. Tropical storm and storm surge warnings have been issued by the National Hurricane Center for parts of the U.S. Gulf Coast in anticipation of Tropical Storm Cristobal approaching later this weekend. The storm, the third named system of an already active hurricane season, had a maximum sustained winds of 40 miles per hour on Friday evening, and Cristobal threatens to make landfall along the Louisiana coast late this weekend. We're going to show you the models in just a moment. Stick with us. Cristobal is moving towards and through the Gulf of Mexico. Here is the expected track of movement, which has remained the same over the last 72 hours or more. Very little changes have occurred. The only thing coming into play now is a high-pressure system that will sit out here, which will turn the storm to the right, bring it up into the Great Lakes region. Tracking Cristobal, tropical storm warnings issued for southeast Louisiana, the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and many other regions. Remember to be prepared. If you're in any of these regions we're going to be covering over the next 10 minutes or so, be prepared. Don't be scared. You need backup water, cell phone chargers, backup batteries, a week's supply of medicine.
Newest change, 45 miles per hour.
Wow, we weren't expecting that. But there has been a state of emergency for Louisiana ahead of Cristobal. Now, this is simply because the storm is going to track a little bit west of New Orleans, but the majority of the rain is going to hit this region of Louisiana. They're going to be the hardest hit. So state of emergency has already been issued for Louisiana. Now let's check the models. I know you've been waiting for it. Let's just go back a little. You can see the current position of the tropical storm Cristobal. And you can see there's some winds gusting to 55 or 60 miles per hour, even on the west side here. But as we progress the models, and I'll just be moving the wind indicator around as this moves around, you're going to see the majority of the winds shift over here to the eastern vector, where they never get much more than 60 miles per hour at any given time. Here we see them at 62. And it's possible that this storm will intensify as it approaches the shore. It could actually end up being a Cat 1 hurricane right before it makes landfall in many of the models I'm looking at. And that's going to be my best estimated guess, that this makes landfall maybe as a Cat 1 hurricane, potentially, or a very impressive tropical storm with major rain potential. And this is going to linger as it moves onshore here. We're showing Saturday, 10 p.m., the eye wall, if there is one, maybe 11 p.m., will be hitting just west of New Orleans. And you can see the winds are pretty much at their maximums here. The highest winds we've seen, 65, 64, gusting to 64 and 5, even on land. So let's just move this pattern down. So we could see 60-mile-an-hour winds up here in Louisiana, as well as Alabama. Mississippi is not going to be left out on the coast. So these are the regions should be preparing for power outages, trees down, electrical fires, anything's possible. And to be able to hunker down, shelter in place for several days, potentially. Florida to see a lot of rain from Cristobal. Still too early to determine who's going to be the big winner. But according to weather.gov, tropical storm and storm surge warnings issued for the Gulf Coast. Severe thunderstorms return to the northern plains this weekend. We'll just read you out the forecast. Tropical storm Cristobal will move over the central Gulf of Mexico on Saturday, be near the northern Gulf of Mexico coast on Sunday. Warnings have been issued for life-threatening storm surge, tropical storm force winds, heavy rain, high surf and rip currents also expected. We'll do an entire podcast on the storm surge sometime, maybe Saturday night, Sunday morning. There is an enhanced risk for severe thunderstorms across parts of the northern plains Saturday and Sunday night, too. So lots of the U.S. affected. We're going to have high winds, heavy rains in the Four Corners region. Just an amazing spring. Now, the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season is expected to be above average, overactive. This is coming from 3 different sources, Colorado State, NOAA, and the Weather Company, all predicting up to 18 to 19 named storms, 9 or 10 hurricanes, and 3 to 6 Cat 3 or higher. So it's going to be a lot of reporting and a lot of destruction. Here is the current knowledge on the tropical storm force wind speed probabilities through Wednesday. And so you'll see here, Louisiana has the highest probability, 50 to 60% of tropical storm force winds for the next several days. This is going to change as the models update. But the total precipitation is not ungodly, but it is going to be flash flood worthy, with up to 4 to 6 inches inland here in Arkansas and up to 10 inches in parts of Louisiana and Mississippi. Hello. So, proper prior planning will prevent piss poor performance. Greatest flash flood risk over the next 3 days is near the coast, inland 50 to 100 miles. In some regions, if you're in the yellow region, you should be preparing. This goes all the way down here to I don't know, Fort Myers? From Fort Myers to central Louisiana. Heads up. You picking it up? Here's the key messages for Tropical Storm Cristobal, 10 p.m. Friday, June 5th, right now. Damaging and deadly flooding was already occurring in portions of Mexico and Central America. Cristobal is expected to produce additional extreme rainfall amounts for a day or so. The heaviest additional rainfall is expected over far southern Mexico and portions of the Yucatan. 2, there's a danger of life-threatening storm surge outside of the hurricane and storm damage risk reduction systems from the mouth of the Mississippi River to Ocean Springs, Mississippi, and a storm surge warning is in effect for those areas. Life-threatening storm surge remains possible along Florida's Big Bend and other portions of southern and southeastern Louisiana, where a storm surge watch is currently in effect. Residents in these locations should follow advice given by local emergency officials. And by the way, that the confidence in that advice is going to increase over the next 24 hours. So wait to heed the warnings until about tomorrow night, in my opinion, if you're on the Gulf Coast. Number 3, tropical storm force winds are expected by late Saturday night. That's when you should be looking for the storm surge advisories and heeding the warnings. And these tropical force winds Saturday night along the northern Gulf Coast from southeastern Louisiana to the western Florida Panhandle should be apparent if you go outside, including metropolitan New Orleans, and a tropical storm warning is in effect for that area. These winds will arrive well in advance of an extended well east of Cristobal Center. Well east. Hundreds of miles. Heavy rainfall will spread into portions of the Gulf Coast from East Texas to Florida this weekend into early next week, with areas of flash flooding. Significant flooding will be possible on smaller tributaries, especially where heavier rainfall occurs over portions of Louisiana and Mississippi. And this would be over the track of the actual storm, which we're not showing you in any of these pictures. There it is. So there's the track of that low. Moving up through Little Rock, and the biggest rains and the heaviest totals will be just east of this line. So proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance when it's about to be boom time. Let's see if we can get you the storm surges here, the peak surges. Now the problem with pulling up the storm surge map too early is it's going to be too incorrect. But we've done it anyway. And there's the graphic coming up now. It's going to take a minute to parse up. And we understand that we will not sell your data. So here you can see the current areas at risk. So the biggest areas at risk are going to be catching the wind. Here's the center of rotations right here. So it's going to be spinning, and it's going to push all this extra water up into this opening here from Tampa north through Tallahassee around this entire carved out portion of Florida. So that's going to be the biggest hit storm surge here. And then that's going to be whipping hard in this direction, right tight around the circulation. So this portion of New Orleans is going to be hammered with storm surge, with this water pushing up into the magenta region. More mild on the coast here, but inland near New Orleans, this spinning is set up perfectly to just push that water up in here. So heads up there. Big shout out to Abel James. If you don't know who this guy is, he's an author, a musician, a talk show host, and an adventurer. He's a New York Times bestseller. He's a friend of the channel, and he's a subscriber. Not only that, he watches the show. More importantly, we just got a package that arrived the other day from him, and 2 thumbs up. Abel James went out of his way, gave us 2 of his best-selling books, 2 different titles, 3 books, and a number of other supplement products that we already use. Every single thing he sent, we already use from a different company, and I'm not going to mention them right now, but go check out his website here. He's a good guy, and he's a team player. He's on the home team. Guys, if you're in the region, this is no joke. Tropical storm is coming, very high confidence. Landfall just west of New Orleans. Heavy storm surge in the area here of light purple. The most storm surge here inland at New Orleans. So if you're on the coast, I would say get to high ground. You have 48 hours. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. When the third named storm is about to hit the U.S., and it's only June 5th. Share this with like-minded people. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Be safe, folks. We love you. That's a boom.